So what we have in public relations is more than 40 years of persistent inequities in gender. So in 1970, which is when scholars first began to look at gender composition in the public relations field, our field was primarily made up of men. The gender shift began to happen in the mid to late 1970s, and we call this in academe the so-called feminization of the field. So since the late 1970s, we've seen increasing numbers of women going into public relations, and on the one hand, that would seem like a good thing, but that feminization of the field has been correlated with a more disturbing trend, which is the glass ceiling effect. Over the last several decades, even as women have increased their numbers in the field of public relations, they have remained stuck at the technician level as opposed to getting promoted proportionate to their numbers in the field, getting promoted to the managerial ranks. In addition, we have continued to see pay inequities in gender. So the Public Relations Society of America in 1989 established a task force on the status of women to look at some of these issues. And I'm honored to serve this year as the chair of the National Committee on Work, Life, and Gender, which grew out of that task force. The Work, Life, and Gender Committee of the Public Relations Society has a research team made up of scholars around the country, and these statistics that I'm presenting here today were actually put together by my colleague at San Diego State, Dr. David Dozier, and he has been actually studying gendered pay inequities since I was so young that I didn't even know what pay was, much less gender or inequity. So what you see here on this particular slide is three colored lines. The top line, which is the green line, represents if everybody got paid absolutely equally, that's where we would be. Men and women both making the same amount of money. That's the green line. The bottom line, the blue line, is the unadjusted gender pay inequity. And what you see here is how much women make on the dollar made by men. So in 1979, it was 58 cents on the dollar. In 1991, that went up to 74 cents on the dollar. In 2004, it went back down to 71 cents on the dollar. Then it was 69 cents on the dollar. And our most recent data from 2010 show that women in public relations are earning 78 cents on the dollar earned by men. I don't know about the other women in this room, but that kind of makes me mad. So the explanations or excuses that we often get is, well, women tend to be younger than men in the field, women tend to have fewer years of professional experience, and all of that is true. So the middle line, the red line, looks at gender pay inequities accounting for or statistically controlling for years of professional experience. And you see, obviously, when we do that, when you take men and women who have the same levels of experience, the gender pay gap decreases, but yet it is still there. So in 1979, the adjusted inequity ratio was 72 cents on the dollar. That went up to 89 cents in 1991, back down to 72 cents in 2004, up to 75 cents, and then in 2010, it was 86 cents on the dollar. Woohoo. So I guess we've kind of improved. For 2010, I was asked by the AAUP to offer up some new and exciting data. So this is actually breaking news. No one has heard this before, and I must apologize in advance that I don't have a full report online because it's actually undergoing blind review for an academic journal, which I hope won't reject it now that I've presented them here at AAUW. So what we see for our 2010 data is this, the exciting news, which I actually didn't even put on the PowerPoint. Our data in 2010 show that women apparently, at least last year, have broken through the glass ceiling. What does that mean? It means that for the first time in decades of documenting manager and technician roles in public relations, women are enacting the managerial role in public relations at the same rate as men. On the one hand, that is super exciting. On the other hand, I try not to get my hopes up because it's only 1 year's worth of data and it could just be a blip in the numbers for this year and it could go back down again. Unfortunately, even though women now have broken through the glass ceiling and are enacting the managerial role in equal numbers as men, we are still getting paid less than male managers. So this particular slide shows you the gender pay gap between men and women in 2010. So men is the red line, women is the blue line. The top section there is the unadjusted salary difference, which I gave earlier. So the gender pay inequity is 78 cents on the dollar. When you adjust for years of professional experience, that goes up to 86 cents on the dollar. And look at the impact of enacting the managerial role, a whole penny. Woohoo! Like, I can get that in the parking lot, you know? So, on the floor. You know, so I think there is some progress, and it's very exciting that in public relations, women are now enacting the managerial role to the same extent that men are. But we still have a very, very long way to go.